You are welcome to yet another episode of LFN What's Your Say? The leading listening show where we discuss important issues with important people like you. We are still featuring R. Kelly. Real name Robert Sylvester Kelly. Also known as the R&B King. In the controversial New York trial of R. Kelly, one of the most disputed legal arguments revolved around the definition and application of the RICO Act, known in full as the Racketeer Influenced and Corrupt Organizations Act. The prosecution relied heavily on this statute, stretching its meaning to the furthest edge of legal interpretation in order to convict R. Kelly. But what happens when that same definition, the one used to label him a criminal, turns back and implicates the very parties who tried to lock him up? This is not just theoretical. This is rather unfolding in real time. R. Kelly's civil suit against the Bureau of Prisons and YouTube blogger Tasha K threatens to blow the lid off the entire foundation of the government's case. And here's the twist. If we are to follow the same RICO logic that the government applied during the trial, then every single entity involved in the conspiracy to illegally gather and leak his prison communications must now themselves be considered part of a RICO enterprise. That includes the Bureau of Prisons. That includes Tasha K and her studio team. And yes, that includes the government prosecutors who not only received but used illegally obtained communications to strengthen their case. Let's revisit what RICO is. According to the government's rather lame argument, and more importantly the precedent now set by the court and upheld on appeal, a RICO enterprise does not require a common criminal goal among all members of the group. All it takes is an enterprise defined loosely as a group or structure, even if informal, and the commission of at least 2 qualifying predicate offenses by any member of that enterprise. These offenses can include extortion, which they eventually did to R. Kelly, obstruction of justice, and the unauthorized acquisition of protected information. And that's where the house of cards begins to collapse. Because by this exact logic, once R. Kelly's civil suit proceeds and the involvement of these actors is legally exposed, the prosecution team itself may fall under the very RICO definition they used to convict him. Let's break it down. We start with the Bureau of Prisons, specifically the staff at the Metropolitan Correctional Center where R. Kelly was held in pretrial detention. According to defense filings and whistleblower information, staff at the MCC provided unauthorized access to R. Kelly's prison records, including emails and phone calls, material that is protected under federal law. This access was not accidental. It was intentional, unauthorized, and specifically aimed at benefiting the prosecution. Here, we already have our first predicate offense, unauthorized access and disclosure of protected inmate communications. That alone is a violation of the Privacy Act, and depending on the mechanism of access could qualify under federal statutes governing computer fraud and abuse. Consider the prosecution team itself. They were the ultimate recipients of this illegal information, who instead of rejecting it or flagging it as unlawfully obtained and used it actively and knowingly to help secure a wrongful conviction. This constitutes a second predicate act, the use of unlawfully obtained evidence, which may fall under obstruction of justice or conspiracy to defraud the defendant in undeserved restitutions. At this point, we already meet the RICO criteria, an enterprise around the informal coordination between BOP staff and government prosecutors, and 2 predicate offenses. But it doesn't stop there. Now we look at Tasha K, the infamous blogger whose media brand has thrived on the sensationalism surrounding R. Kelly's legal troubles. Tasha K didn't just comment on the case. She reportedly obtained sensitive, non-public information and chose to publish it. And she did this not in isolation. She staged it, filmed it, edited it and monetized it, allegedly using information that could only have been sourced from leaks within the Bureau of Prisons or the government's own team. This too is critical. Because the act of publishing is not in itself a crime, but the source and handling of the information is. If Tasha K obtained illegally sourced communications whether directly or indirectly, and then used her studio staff comprised of camera operators, editors and monetization team to publish it, then according to the government's RICO logic, she too formed an illegal enterprise. Not because her lighting crew committed a crime, but because a crime was committed within the structure of a functioning group whose goal was to publish and profit. That is exactly the logic used against R. Kelly, In his New York trial, the government did not need to show that every member of R. Kelly's entourage had a shared criminal goal. They simply showed that at least one individual committed at least 2 predicate offenses, and that these occurred within a loosely structured group. That was enough to call it a criminal and therefore RICO enterprise. So what now? If Tasha K is the one committing a crime and she uses her enterprise, her YouTube platform, video team, editors and tech staff to publish those illegal leaks, then even though her team may have been doing ordinary production business operations that are not illegal, they become part of the enterprise under RICO. If that's how the prosecution described R. Kelly's music team, touring crew and personal assistants, why should a different standard apply here? It shouldn't. This is the glaring hypocrisy at the center of this entire legal debacle, and there's more. The broader issue is extortion. If any party, whether it's a government official, prison employee or media personality, sought to use R. Kelly's private prison communications to coerce behavior, extract public confessions, manipulate the narrative, or humiliate him for monetary gain, that is textbook extortion, which is also a qualifying RICO offense. And if this extortion involved more than one party, say a prison official leaking information, a blogger monetizing it and prosecutors benefiting from it, then this is no longer just a set of disconnected actions. It's a coordinated effort that, using the court's own reasoning, constitutes racketeering. This is what makes the government's RICO strategy in the New York trial so precarious. It is circular and self-defeating. By expanding the definition of RICO to such a degree, they have opened the door to having the same legal standards applied back onto themselves. They've built a weapon so broad and blunt that it can't distinguish between targeted criminal activity and normal business operations, if even one person in the structure commits a qualifying act. That's the precedent they set. And now they must live with it. So let's ask a fair question: if R. Kelly was convicted under these conditions, where criminal enterprise status was declared on the basis of loose associations and non-coordinated action, then shouldn't the BOP, Tasha K, and the prosecutors now face the same label? Because from what we know, the collaboration between these actors and with their teams was far more deliberate, far more coordinated, and far more directly tied to criminal activity. R. Kelly's civil suit is not merely about privacy violations. It is a legal lens pointed back at the system. If it's successful and the facts seem to strongly support that outcome, the very premise of his conviction could begin to unravel. And this is exactly why the RICO strategy as used against R. Kelly was reckless. Because it treated a man's music business, his entourage, and even his personal assistants as part of a criminal enterprise without proving shared criminal intent. It relied on innuendo, association, and emotion over clear legal thresholds. But one day, the same logic is poised to indict those who authored it. Thank you for watching today's video, a production of LFN Media, giving you another perspective of issues at hand. We make it our business to keep you updated with the truth amidst the cloud of lies the media wants you to believe. It is therefore important to subscribe to this channel, hit the bell icon, and allow all notifications so that you don't miss out whenever we publish a new video.